The first time saw her, he thought he was dreaming. The shuttle doors hissed open, and a figure stepped into the sterile, humming docking bay of Earth's orbital station. She was tall, elegant in a way that made humans seem clumsy by comparison, and her eyes glimmered like twin moons. His breath caught. Finally, a voice echoed in his comms, icy and amused. "You've been assigned the project." Didn't answer. He watched as the alien princess approached, her movements smooth and deliberate like water flowing over stone. The Empire had laughed when they sent her to him. She was infertile, they said. She would be harmless, a cosmic joke at humanity's expense. A low-ranking diplomat on this remote orbital hub was supposed to take care of her, keep her safe for a cycle, and ensure she returned unharmed. But standing there now felt a strange weight in his chest. This wasn't just some ceremonial task. This was real. He said finally, stepping forward, trying to sound confident. The princess tilted her head, observing him. Her voice was soft, yet it carried a resonance that made the station feel smaller. The Empire does not care what I become here. They only care that I leave intact." Nodded, "I understand." She didn't smile, not yet. Instead, she scanned the station, taking in the stark white walls, the humming machinery, the emptiness. It was like she was measuring it against something in her memory, or something she longed for. For the first few days and maintained a careful distance. The Empire's laugh echoed in every command from their data pads. Humans could not handle a royal of their bloodline, the messages sneered. Humans would fail. And yet here he was, tasked with guarding someone whose existence was supposedly a joke. Found himself watching her more than necessary. Not out of fear or curiosity, but concern. Every flicker of emotion in her eyes, every small hesitation, told him she had a depth no Imperial report had captured, and realized to his own surprise that he cared whether she thrived or failed. Then the first incident happened. The station was performing routine maintenance on the outer energy arrays when a sudden surge of plasma ripped through the conduit. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed. Was thrown against a console. Didn't hesitate. She moved with impossible speed, throwing herself over him, shielding him as metal shards scattered like deadly rain. The air shimmered around her in a way couldn't explain. Her body seemed to absorb the shock. By the time the safety systems activated, she was already standing, hair slightly singed, eyes blazing with controlled fury. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp, almost demanding. I'm fine," said, stunned. His hand shook, not from injury, but from the realization of what he'd just witnessed. She wasn't fragile. She wasn't the helpless pawn the Empire had claimed. She was something else entirely. And felt something else, too, a flicker of fear. Because if the Empire thought she was infertile and weak, they had been wrong in ways neither of them could yet imagine. That night couldn't sleep. Sat across the small mess hall, quietly eating the rations provided. He stared at her, seeing not a princess used as a joke, but a warrior, a survivor, a being of immense power and dignity. Somehow he knew the next cycle, whatever that meant in Earth's orbit, would change both of their lives forever. He didn't know how, but he felt it deep in his bones. The orbital station was silent at 3:00 Standard Time, the kind of silence that pressed on the ears and made every creak of machinery sound like thunder. Sat in his quarters, staring at the faint view of Earth spinning below. He couldn't shake the image of in the energy array bay, the way she had moved as if danger were a friend she had trained with all her life. He remembered the Empire's laughter. Humans will fail. Humans cannot protect her. They had sent her as a joke, expecting embarrassment or catastrophe, but realized they had miscalculated. Humans could be strong. Humans could surprise. And this human, he had underestimated the alien princess as much as the Empire had underestimated him. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. It was her. She was standing at the doorway, hands folded, eyes unreadable. As she said quietly, "Why do you watch me so closely?" Blinked, he hadn't meant to, but it was true. I just want to understand. You're different from what I expected." Her lips twitched, almost a smile, almost curiosity. "Different, yes, but you humans do not understand the word different until it is too late, and yet you care, I see it." Swallowed, he hadn't realized the truth of it, but now he couldn't deny it. I care because you shouldn't be alone here. You shouldn't have been sent like some object. His eyes softened just enough for him to notice. Alone, yes, that is the constant. She paused, looking down at the floor, then back up at him. Perhaps that is why I survive. Even among enemies, even among those who mock me, I have learned to guard what is precious, and what is precious is rare. His heart thudded, a strange warmth in his chest. There was a hidden weight behind her words, one he couldn't yet decipher. Their conversation was cut short by the alarm system. A red glow flashed across the corridors. The outer observation deck had detected an unregistered vessel approaching at high speed and raced to the observation bay. Through the reinforced glass, a sleek craft glided toward the station. Its markings were alien warships, not diplomats. The Empire had sent its enforcers. "They're coming for her," said, voice low but tense. "The Empire, they didn't think she'd survive, but now they're coming for damage control." His expression hardened. "Then we will show them survival." Hesitated, unsure what she meant. But before he could ask, she moved again with the fluidity of someone born for combat, activating her personal shielding device. Sparks of energy flickered around her fingers. Had never seen technology like this, not on Earth. It hummed, alive, resonating with her presence. The first shot struck the station's outer hull, throwing to the floor. Glass and debris rained around them but did not falter. She extended her hands, and the blast was absorbed into a shimmering dome that radiated from her. The light was blinding, but she stood firm, unwavering. Scrambled to his feet. "How?" She cut him off with a single look. "Do not question, act, survive. That is what you were sent to do, and now you must do it with me." The next moments were chaos. Energy beams tore through the station corridors, alarms screaming, warning lights flickering. Had never imagined he would be in the middle of a real-life battle with an alien princess, defending not just her, but their lives together. And yet, in the madness, he felt something fierce awaken in him. A determination not to let the Empire win, not to let her sacrifice herself, not to let humanity appear weak. By the time the attackers were repelled, or at least forced to retreat, was breathing hard, hands scorched from the emergency panels he had tried to operate. Stood beside him, unharmed, her eyes glinting with something unreadable, powerful, and alive. "You were meant to fail," she whispered almost to herself, "but somehow you did not." Looked at her, chest heaving, adrenaline still buzzing. "We did not fail," he said, and he meant it. Not just the station, not just the battle, but the first spark of trust between them. And in that moment, realized the Empire had not sent a princess to be a joke. They had unleashed a storm. And now Earth, humanity, he didn't know how, but he knew they were part of it. The station was eerily quiet after the attack. The alarms had faded, the flashing red lights replaced by the low hum of the orbital systems, and stood in the observation bay, staring at the dark stretch of space where the Empire's enforcers had disappeared. "You saved us both," said, still breathless. You nearly didn't," interrupted, her tone sharp but not unkind. "I expected a human to be clumsy, indecisive. I did not expect this." She gestured to the systems, to the battle-scarred walls. "But do not mistake this for mercy. This is survival, nothing more." His chest tightened. He wanted to argue, to say it wasn't just survival, that he had chosen to fight, that he had chosen to stand with her. But he swallowed the words. Survival with her was enough for now. "Tell me about yourself," said finally. Why send you like this?" His eyes darkened, gazing at the spinning blue of Earth below. "Because they believed I would be a failure. My bloodline is infertile. They wanted to see humanity squirm. They wanted me to be a joke, a test, a thing to waste their time on. They never expected me to endure." Felt a knot in his stomach. He had been sent a princess as a joke, a weapon disguised as a failure, and now he understood the stakes. "You endured because you're stronger than they thought," he said softly. She glanced at him, her eyes unreadable. "Yes, stronger than they thought, but strength is not enough. I have lived my life in cages I cannot see, in rules I cannot break, in expectations I cannot escape. This station, you, are the first choice I have made for myself, and that is terrifying." Swallowed, he had felt a shift, a fragile trust forming between them. "Then I won't let them take it away," he said. I won't let them make you a pawn again. His lips curved faintly, a hint of something he could not name. You are bold for a human, perhaps foolish, perhaps necessary. The next day discovered why. While running diagnostics in the lower maintenance bays, he noticed subtle discrepancies in the station logs, signals being intercepted, comms being rerouted. Someone or something was watching them. They're not done, he said when he reported it. The Empire, they're tracking us, they won't stop. His expression hardened. They underestimate me, but they do not yet understand me, and they certainly do not understand you. Felt a swell of pride and fear. Me. Yes, you chose to fight, you chose to protect. You are human, unpredictable, and that is why you matter. For the first time, saw vulnerability in her eyes, not fear exactly, but caution. Layers of history, of betrayal, of expectation pressed on her shoulders. You've been through so much, he said gently. I survived, she cut in softly. And I will continue to survive, but survival is lonely. That is the part they do not understand. Her words lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken. Realized that the Empire had underestimated not only her resilience, but the possibility of connection, of something human forming a bridge to the alien. The next weeks passed in a tense rhythm, patrols, repairs, cautious training. Learned her patterns, her preferences, her silences. Learned his resilience, his stubborn loyalty, his refusal to leave her alone. Slowly, trust grew. But the shadows of the Empire were always there. Every report, every sudden sensor spike reminded them of the threat lurking beyond the station walls, and began to see the real stakes. They were not merely surviving, they were defying. And in defiance, sensed a fragile, terrifying hope. A hope that one day, maybe, the joke would turn. That the Empire's plan, meant to humiliate and control, might unravel in ways they could not imagine. For now, though the station was a cage, the stars outside both a promise and a threat, and knew one thing with certainty: he could not fail her. Not now, not ever. The hum of the orbital station was a faint comfort, a reminder that for now they were safe. But new safety was fragile, a thin membrane stretched over the void of space. Every glance at reminded him that the Empire had underestimated them both, and that miscalculation could cost lives. He found her in the hydroponics bay, crouched by the glowing tubes of alien flora she seemed to favor. Her fingers traced the leaves with care, almost reverence, as though speaking to the plants could soothe her. Hesitated before entering. This was her space, her silence. You grow things even here, he said softly. His eyes flicked to him. Life survives where it is nurtured. Some humans forget that, some aliens too. She paused, studying him as if weighing whether he belonged here. You seem to remember. Smiled faintly. I try. Sometimes it's the only thing that keeps me human in this madness. A small laugh escaped her, musical and rare. Madness, she murmured. Yes, perhaps it is the same for us all. Their brief moment of calm shattered with a violent shudder. The station rocked as another ship slammed against its outer hull. Sensors screamed red. His heart leapt. The Empire had found them again. They are faster this time, said, gripping the edge of a console. Straightened, the serene expression replaced by one of calculated ferocity. Faster, yes, but speed is meaningless without understanding. Watch. Before could react, extended her hands. Energy rippled outward in a dome of luminous force, pushing the enemy vessel back as if it were made of paper. Sparks rained from the walls, but the station held. Stared, all rooting him to the spot. How, he began, but she cut him off. Do not question yet. Observe. Her voice was steady, calm, but underneath it hummed a power he had never witnessed. The shielding pulsed, responding to her will, bending, stretching, and finally collapsing the attacker's assault. Realized with a mixture of awe and fear that had never been ordinary. She had never been the fragile, infertile pawn the Empire claimed. She was something else entirely, a storm contained within a human-sized frame. When the alarms quieted, turned to him, her expression softened, but her eyes retained a fire that unsettled him. Do you understand now why I endure? Nodded slowly. Yes, I do, and I also understand why they fear you. A long silence stretched between them. felt an unspoken connection deepening, an invisible tether forming in the chaos and quiet alike. Had trusted him with her life, and he had witnessed something no human, or perhaps even alien, had ever seen, her raw, unfiltered strength. Days passed and observed her in new ways, not just as a princess, not just as a fighter, but as someone layered in complexity. She laughed quietly when no one was watching, she hummed strange melodies, and sometimes, when the station lights dimmed, she would stare at the stars for hours. Realized she was looking for something beyond survival, something that the Empire's mockery could not destroy. And deep inside, he began to understand that he was becoming part of that search, whether he wanted it or not. One evening, as they prepared the station's defenses for another potential assault, asked the question that had been gnawing at him. If you survive all this, if we survive, what do you want? She paused, eyes distant. I want to be more than a joke. I want to create life where they said I could not. I want to prove that even the smallest, weakest beginning can defy expectation. And perhaps, I want someone to remember me for who I am, not for what I was sent to be. His breath caught, the words were fragile, yet filled with promise. Then we'll survive, he said, determination steady in his voice. We'll defy them together. His gaze softened just a fraction, but it was enough. Realized that in the vast emptiness of space, amid enemies and betrayals, hope had found its spark. And perhaps, just perhaps, they were no longer alone. Outside, stars glittered like shards of promise, and for the first time felt that survival was not merely an obligation. It could be a choice. The next attack came without warning. Had grown accustomed to the constant tension, but nothing could prepare him for the force that slammed against the station that night. The hull groaned, alarms screamed, and warning lights painted the corridors in harsh red. Was already moving before could react. She extended her hands, her energy shield flaring like a living sun, sending the first waves of the assault crashing harmlessly into the void. His heart raced, not from fear alone, but from the recognition of her raw power. The Empire had thought her fragile, powerless. They had been spectacularly wrong. Joined her at the control hub, helping to coordinate the station's automated defenses. We can't hold them forever, he shouted over the alarms. Then we don't, replied, voice sharp, commanding. We fight smart, we fight fast, we do not fail. Her presence was magnetic, almost impossible to ignore. Even as the station shook, found himself drawn to her, to the calm ferocity she exuded amidst chaos. He didn't know whether it was loyalty, fear, or something else entirely, but he knew he would follow her anywhere. The battle raged for hours. Explosions rocked the station, debris floated in zero gravity, and the Empire's ships pressed their assault relentlessly. Yet with every wave grew stronger, sharper, more precise. She seemed to anticipate every attack, bending her shield and her will to protect not only herself but the station and humanity itself. At one point, a stray energy blast tore through a nearby corridor, shouted expecting her to recoil, but she did not. She reached through the flames, absorbing the blast into her shield, her body glowing with an intensity that lit the dark station. Realized something profound. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a force of defiance. When the attackers finally retreated, the station was battered but intact. Was breathless, hands shaking, body sore, but alive. He looked at who stood amidst the dim emergency lights, her form radiating quiet power. You were meant to be a joke, said softly, awe-threading his voice. And you've become so much more. His eyes softened, and for a moment glimpsed vulnerability beneath her unyielding exterior. The Empire thought they could define me, she said quietly. They thought my bloodline's infertility made me less than disposable, but I endured, I adapted, I survived. Stepped closer. And you're not alone anymore, he said, voice steady. I won't let them ever make you feel disposable, not while I'm here. For the first time, let herself truly meet his gaze. There was something unspoken there, a connection deeper than trust or necessity. Something that stirred in the silent corners of hope. Over the next days, life in the station settled into tense routines. Repairs, training, observation, but noticed subtle changes in. She moved with less caution, laughed quietly when no one else was watching, and sometimes she would look at him with a soft intensity that made him uncomfortable and alive. Then came the moment that would redefine everything. One evening, found staring at the stars longer than usual, he approached cautiously. "They said I could not create life," she whispered, voice trembling with something had never heard, hope. "They said I was infertile, that I would be nothing, but now I feel differently." His chest tightened. He understood in a way he never could have predicted that the Empire's mockery had lit a fire inside her. "Then let us prove them wrong," he said softly. His lips curved faintly. "We will, and one day they will see that even what they dismiss can become a legacy." Reached out, and for the first time their hands met, not as protector and charge, not as diplomat and princess, but as two beings who had survived together, who had chosen to fight, and who had begun to hope together. Outside the station, the stars burned cold and distant, but inside realized something. Humanity, strength, resilience, they were no longer abstract concepts. They were alive, and together they could defy even an empire. The orbital station had grown quieter, almost serene, but knew better. They were in a lull, not safety. Every sensor ping reminded him that the Empire's enforcers could return at any moment. Yet amidst the tension, a fragile peace had formed between him and one built not on duty, but on trust. One evening, as they watched Earth rise like a sapphire against the black void, spoke quietly. "Do you ever wonder why I survived this long?" Looked at her, studying the faint glow of starlight reflecting in her eyes. "I don't know. Luck, skill, resilience, maybe all of it, but it feels like there's a reason." His lips curved faintly, a rare softness that made his chest tighten. "The Empire believes my bloodline is infertile, that I cannot create life. They sent me as a joke, a test of humanity's incompetence, and yet I feel something different now." His heartbeat quickened, though he couldn't explain why. "Different." "Yes," she said, eyes distant. "I feel hope, a strange, impossible hope, and perhaps the possibility that I can leave more than survival behind." Swallowed, understanding dawning in his chest. He realized what she meant, that the Empire's mockery had lit a fire inside her, a determination not just to live, but to create, to prove that their cruel assumptions were false. Days later, the moment arrived, confided in him privately, her voice trembling. "I think it has begun. I feel life within me. I am pregnant." His breath caught. "Pregnant?" he whispered, disbelieving. His mind raced, biology, genetics, improbabilities, but he couldn't shake the joy that surged through him. They said it was impossible." Smiled, a mixture of wonder and fear. "They were wrong. I am alive, and something we created, human and alien, will live too. I never thought I would see this day." For the first time, felt an exhilaration that surpassed fear. The Empire's cruel joke had turned into a miracle, and in that realization, he knew their defiance had only just begun. But peace was fleeting. The station's sensors soon detected another fleet approaching, more numerous and aggressive than before. The Empire had discovered the truth. They had underestimated humanity, and now they sought to reclaim what they thought was a failure. Took her hands, gripping them tightly. "We will protect this life. Whatever it takes, we survive together." His eyes glistened, unspoken gratitude and trust shining through. "I never thought anyone could mean so much to me," she admitted. "But you do." The next attack was brutal. The station shook violently, alarms blaring and energy blasts tore through corridors, yet moved with unparalleled focus. She shielded, she guided him, and together they repelled the fleet's assault with cunning and raw power. Every action, every command, every heartbeat was dedicated to survival, and now to preserving the tiny life growing inside her. After the last enemy ship was destroyed or forced to retreat, the station was battered but intact. Held close as the adrenaline faded, feeling the tiny stirrings of life she had carried. "They will never break us," he whispered. "They will learn," said her voice soft, determined. "That life, even the smallest spark, can defy an empire. That hope is stronger than fear, and that no matter how cruel, we will endure." Nodded, "And the next generation, our child, will be the proof. Humanity, resilience, strength, they will see it through us." Outside the station, the stars glimmered cold and distant. Inside, two beings who were meant to be pawns had begun a legacy, one that would challenge the assumptions of an empire, rewrite destinies, and prove that even a supposed joke could carry the weight of the universe. The shuttle doors hissed open. His heart leapt as he saw her step out, taller, radiant, and carrying life itself in her arms. For a moment he thought the universe had shifted. The stars, the station, even the air seemed to hum with the impossible. The Empire had expected a joke. They had sent their infertile princess into human care, assuming she would return empty-handed, a failure, a testament to their superiority. But the princess had returned, not empty, not defeated, but with proof of defiance wrapped in her arms, their child. His breath caught. The child's eyes, half human, half alien, blinked slowly, luminous and curious, reflecting both species' legacy in one perfect, fragile life. His gaze met his steady and proud. "I told you," she whispered. "They underestimated us. They assumed weakness. They assumed that humanity could not endure, but we endured, and we gave life where they claimed none could exist." Stepped closer, voice thick. You did all this. You survived, you fought, and you carried our future." His lips curved in a faint, triumphant smile. "It was not just me, it was us. You stood by me. You fought beside me. You believed in me when the Empire thought I was worthless. And now," she looked down at their child, cradled gently against her chest, "now they will see what happens when you underestimate humans." The station, once sterile and cold, felt alive. Sensors hummed quietly. Lights glimmered softly on the walls. For the first time, felt the full weight of what they had accomplished, not just survival, but victory, defiance, and hope. Word of the princess's return spread rapidly across interstellar channels. The Empire's messages, once mocking, faltered. Their pride, their arrogance had been shattered, not by armies or weapons, but by resilience, ingenuity, and the unpredictable power of human determination. Approached, holding their child carefully, and offered him the small, luminous bundle. "You were sent to care for me as a joke," she said, voice steady but soft. "And yet, you helped me create something they never thought possible. Here, hold our future." His hands trembled as he took the child. Tiny fingers wrapped instinctively around his finger, and he felt a surge of emotion stronger than any fear or adrenaline he had known. Hope, love, pride, and a deep, unshakable resolve pulsed through him. Humanity had been tested, and in this fragile alien human life, it had triumphed. Stood beside him, radiant and powerful, and together they faced the observation window. The stars stretched endlessly beyond, a galaxy filled with danger and wonder, and realized something profound. They were no longer pawns. They were a force. "They will come again," said softly. "The Empire, they will try to take her." His eyes gleamed. "Let them try. We are no longer the ones to underestimate. Humanity is unpredictable, resilience is unstoppable, and now life itself stands with us." Nodded, feeling the truth of her words in his bones. They had begun a legacy, not just of survival, but of defiance, hope, and strength. And in that moment, he understood what it meant to be human, not weak, not limited, but capable of miracles, of love, and of shaping destiny itself. Turned, smiling faintly at their child. "The Empire thought they were sending a joke, but look, this is our answer." Held the child closer, looking at with awe, pride, and something deeper than words could capture. Together, they had rewritten fate, the Empire, and created a legacy that would endure across the stars. And in the vastness of space, for the first time, humanity and their child stood unbroken, triumphant, and undeniable.